Everybody, it's 20 Question Tuesdays, and this time I've got Chris Buhalis with me. I'm on a little early so I can take some questions before we go live on television. So, let's put a few things in. Just like old school, the old way we used to do it. This is 20 Question. I can't type. Tuesdays. Who's out there with me? I see some people coming in. This week, Chris Buhalis, my old buddy. Johnny's here. I love that. Also love to see Doctari's here. Barbara, hi, how you doing? Larry, I got your question already, buddy. So before we go on television, I'm trying to get as many questions as I can from my good friend Chris Buhalis. And nice to see Barbara. Love to see you, Johnny, watching from the Green River Schoolhouse. Right on, Barbara. You can come back. Don't worry, this will be on there. You can come back and watch it later. Or you can ask a question or do whatever. And hi, other Barbara. Barbara, how are you doing there too? Nice to see you. All right, we got a few more minutes to take questions. I've already got some great questions for Chris Buhalis, my old buddy. I'm wearing my Blimpie Burger t-shirt from Ann Arbor that Chris got me. If you don't know, the motto at Blimpie Burger is cheaper than food. Oh, yes. I was going to wear the Jerusalem Garden, but I wear that kind of all the time anyway. So I thought Blimpie Burger would be good for Chris. Anybody have any questions for this songwriting extraordinaire, wonderful person? If not, I've got questions from John Austin and Kate Howard. And Larry, like I said, I got your question. We're getting close here. We got a couple more minutes. Oh yeah, then I also have to put in splitting tips as always with my guest. Oh, there's an alarm. And I'll put that in there as well. Can you guys tell how ready I am to be back in the swing of things? It's just so professional. As always with my guest. And its Venmo is at Jeff Plankenhorn. And then paypal.me/planksta. Okay, hopefully that's right. Thanks, everybody. Just want to make sure that my guest gets, a nice meal or something. Maybe a half tank of gas. So we really appreciate your tips. Michael O'Connor. Oh, man. I love that. Hi, buddy. That's a great question. I'm going to put that one in here right now. Starting out with the good stuff. I love that. Artist responsibility. Oh, we got about 20 more seconds before we go on. And speaking out. Perfect. Great question, man. All right, welcome to everybody online. We are now online at, let's see, not online, we're on TV. Can you believe this? Austin Music Television. Thank you, Sheila Steele. And we're on AustinCityJams.com for all of the folks who don't have socials but still like to watch stuff on the web. And if you don't know, this is 20 Question Tuesdays if you've never been here before. Long story short, which is always difficult with me. Early on during the pandemic and the lockdown, I turned my camera on and I started just kind of taking questions like a workshop. It was beautiful. I had all these nice people show up. And I got questions from all over the place. Managers, songwriters, guitar pickers, everybody involved with the music business, and people who don't have anything to do with the music business but just had questions. It was really beautiful. So Sheila Steele over at Austin Music TV said, hey, would you like to put this on our cable channel? I said, great. I got a cool restreaming app that I really dig, and I started going out to all these different places, and the rest is history, except there's a little button with a little person and a plus sign, and I thought, wow, I can invite guests and have those people ask the questions. So the questions all come from you, not necessarily from me, and it's part of what I love about this whole format that I've stumbled into. Let's see, a little bit of housekeeping before we bring on Chris. Let's see. First of all, thank you to everybody in Texas. I hope you're all staying safe. And it was a really, really wonderful tour. I'm glad I didn't cancel. I'm glad I went down. And I really noticed, especially with the outdoor gigs and with the masked gigs inside, that people were doing their best to try and not spread the variant. I've heard way too many stories, so don't believe any kind of hype. It's people who are personally connected to me, one degree of separation, who have died recently from not getting the jab. So I'm sorry. Please don't believe the hype. And I hate to get political on here, but it's not political. Masks work, vaccines work. They keep you out of the hospital and they keep you from dying. So that's why you want it, okay? It doesn't keep you from getting it. It keeps you from out of the hospital. It keeps you from dying most of the time. And so please get the vaccine if you haven't already. We hear way too many stories of, I should have got the jab. And then a couple days later, these people are gone. Plus kids who can't get it, we're spreading it around to them. Love to everybody, and sorry to put that out there, but I just feel like I need to. It's wonderful to be back behind the maple curtain. I have new music out. You can find that at, let's see, real quick. You can go to this, plank.herenow.com. That's where you find out about all of my music. Shows that I'm doing here outside, like in Duncan this weekend with the band. You can find here, plank.wtf.shows. And if you want to throw us a tip today for Chris Buhalis and I, then this is how you do it. It's also in the comments. So, without further ado, this week my guest is Chris Buhalis, and I have lots and lots of great questions for him already. Here he comes, the most handsome man.
Man, you have been cooped up for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, maybe so. Chris, do we know each other?
Yeah, that's why I was kind of surprised to be asked to do this show, honestly. No.
Do you think it's a little bit too well, he knows that guy. Why would he ask him any questions?
What possible questions could Plank have of me at this point? Well, as you know, I've known you since, before you were even aboard. So it's been a while, man.
I love wait, please elaborate on your carpentry joke, because I think there's somebody who you were sharing this. I don't know if you're sharing this on your Facebook page, but someone on your Facebook page said, Plank, this, that. And your verbal comeback is that you knew me before I was a sliver, or you knew me before I was a board. And I have to say that's one I have not heard yet.
Yeah, if you have to elaborate on jokes, they're generally not funny.
I'm 48 and I've never heard it. I'm 48 and I've never heard that plank joke. I've heard the walk the planks and all the other, but I'm going to give you points.
Yeah, I pride myself on recycling very old material that's so old that people think it's new. It's one of the best things I've got going.
I think some of our friends do that as well. Hi, Otta.
I'm certain
Otta's
that
here
they
from
do.
Houston. Otta's
hey,
here from
Otta.
Houston.
Oh,
all right. So I'm gonna start with a really easy question. I like to start with a softball. If you're ready, then this is a question from guest and friend of the show, Larry King. And Larry asks, what song do you like to play when you first pick up your guitar? Like if you pick up your guitar, is there a song that you love to just like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to strum this and kind of get in the mood? He loves to know what people like to play when they pick up their guitar.
That's an interesting question. I don't know that I have a go-to one, but it is strange how some songs will get stuck in your consciousness. Like I mean, oftentimes if I'm working on a song and I'm pressed for time, I'll be picking it up and, working on whatever melody line I have or that kind of thing.
Like a song that you're working on.
Yeah, but now that I'm thinking of it, there are certain, I don't know if this is exactly answering Larry's question or not, but like if I'm working on finger picking, like if I'm going to do a finger picking song and I just want to see if my guitar is in tune and get my fingers loosened up, I often uh, pick If I Needed You. Honestly, I never really thought about it that way, but it is kind of because I can tell if my guitar is in tune and if my fingers are working, that kind of thing.
If I
Um,
Needed You by Townes Van Zandt.
by Towns Van Zandt, yeah.
Some
Yep,
people don't know.
Old Towns. Well, I
Yeah.
always, yeah, I forget about that. And then there was
That's a
when I
great
was
one
in,
right there.
yeah, and then when I was in Italy doing a tour, I was just with my buddy Paolo Ercoli, and Andrew Harden was on this tour. And there's a song by an old friend, Tom Skinner, who's no longer with
Mm,
us. Um,
Oklahoma.
yeah, Oklahoma, Tulsa Boys, Tom Skinner. But Tom has some great songs, and one of them is called "Where We Belong," that I played one night as just sound check because it's kind of got all the dynamics that you need to check and see if the PA is going to work, And
That's worth me putting right into the Where We Belong by Tom Skinner. I'm going to put that in the chat so people can go look it up wherever they find
it's
their music.
yeah, it's a wonderful song. Tom, he was a great writer, and but so we ended up doing that song just about every night for sound check. Just it kind of became the sound check song for that tour, which is not really what Larry asked, but it is interesting to think about that. Like songs kind of latch onto you like barnacles sometimes.
Well, it's a
You
really
know,
good idea to have, and I think you're right. I think it's just an absolutely great question to ask different people because you do have certain things. Like, let's say you go to a guitar store and you're doing what Ray Wiley likes to call the old bitch and drool, and you're looking at guitars that you can't have. You're bitching and drooling, and you pick up a guitar and you want to hear what it sounds like. Well, what do? You just like play a flashy lick? Maybe. But you really want to hear what it sounds like, you might play a song that you really love, Like I might play something by Willis, or I probably wouldn't play my own stuff as much. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea what happened, but we're back. And it looks like everybody's still with us. Thank you for staying on. That was the first time I've ever seen that happen. Oh, Chris is gone. Maybe he'll come back. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please let me know you're there by putting something in the chat if you don't mind. Hopefully, the stream is working now. I'm plugged in hardwired. Anyone there? Well, I don't know what happened there, Chris, but apparently we're back
hello.
online. Okay, good. Some people are still there. We got shut off for just a minute. How about now, Chris? Can you hear me? All right, Chris is going to reload. Chris is going to reload, and we're going to go right back to it as if nothing ever happened. This is what happens, Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's 20 Question Tuesdays, and I haven't done it from home in a while. So let's see what's going on here. Something kicked us off, even though I'm hardwired to the interwebs with, Google Fiber-like fastness. It's run through maple syrup because I'm here in Canada, but still. Hi, buddy.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can now. Let's pretend nothing happened.
All right, I'm just checking these things out because they're causing problems. So now I'm just talking into the iPad. So that's all you get.
Ha! Take two indeed.
All
right. So I don't know what happened. It just kicked us off. I've never had that happen. Anyway, it was a great question, Larry, and thanks for that. And hopefully, let me go look over on Facebook and make sure it's still happening. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody.
It'll get worse.
No doubt. Nope, looks like we're still here. It might have just been something in the middle. All right, so hopefully on all the other ones.
Probably something with my AirPods or something. Sorry about that.
I doubt it. I doubt that we could have been taken off by that, but I'm glad that you took the blame because I was going to drop you in the grease anyway.
Oh, yeah, no, I got your email about it. I know.
Okay, good. All right, so that was a great question. Let's go to a slightly... This is a really, really great question that you may have a tough answer for. My friend John Austin from Ohio. Now, you've met John, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so John is, picked up instruments later, you know, didn't start until he was, I think, in his 50s. And he's a great player, and he's really come a long way, and he's also starting to write a lot, too. In a couple of the workshops of songwriting that I've done with Scrappy Judd Newcomb, we've had discussions about talking blues. And in a couple of these talking blues discussions, I've mentioned you. Now, I don't think you've ever done a talking blues on a record, but you are one of the few people I know, besides Ray Wiley, that is really comfortable doing a talking blues, and you've written 3 or 4 of them that I remember, at least 3. The open mic talking blues, and then the what is the Walkin' Talkin' McCarthy
I've
blues.
written that's the talking sounds just like Joe McCarthy blues.
Yes.
Yeah, I've written a handful of them over the years. Someone asked me once why I didn't put like the open mic one on. I played it somewhere, and they're like, "Oh man, I love that song. Why don't you play it on the? Why don't you record it on the record?" And I was like, "You want to hear it again? Because it's kind of 6 minutes long." And once you hear the punchline, it's kind of not. I think that'd be the one you fast forward over all the time. But I might have played that wrong. I don't know.
Well, those who don't know what a talking blues is, could you kind of explain it, or I will?
Oh well, I mean, it's just like a song art form. I don't know. Woody Guthrie used it, and I know he did not originate it. I'm at a loss. I know there are other practitioners of the trade, but
Towns.
Yeah, I mean, Towns had some talking blues songs. Bob Dylan did a lot of talking blues songs. A lot of folks. It's just basically like a rhyme scheme almost, and you kind of
use a chord progression underneath that's kind of bluesish.
Yeah, a little bit of tall tail action. There's usually a fair amount of hyperbole and some
fair amount of humor often.
There should be some humor in there because the people I learned it from, like Woody Guthrie and Bob Dylan in particular, those two. It's a way that I've found, both listening and writing, to write about a very serious topic, something that really means, you know, it can be something really heavy, but you can do it with humor and use the humor as a weapon as well. I mean, you can just write some pretty good ones, funny stuff too. Like Woody's got one called Hard Work Blues, where he talks about all the things he's willing to do, and it's just wordplay. It's just a rapid fire wordplay kind of thing with rhyme scheme, and I love it.
I still find that I still go back to the fraternity talking blues of Towns's, which is absolutely incredible and brilliant. And you never think of Towns as somebody who joined a fraternity or something like that. But when he goes through it, is it on Live at the Old Quarter?
That is on Live at the Old Quarter.
Just, of course, a lot of us who love Towns say, "Oh, that's our favorite Towns record."
You need to have a good opening line in the talking blues, just like any song. So, like that one, it said, "Decided to improve my social station, so I joined a fraternal organization." I mean, that's
about as great as you could get for an opening line.
There.
So that goes to his question, and his question is, he says, thoughts or recommendations on doing a talking blues well? Well, John, the first thing is have a great first opening line. And if you go through these talking blues, you'll know. They all have, of course, they have a great punch line at the end. You know, walked inside and bubbled, you know.
Yeah.
But they've got to have something at the beginning that really grabs the attention. What other recommendations for getting better at talking blues? Anything?
Have fun with it, and they're generally, I mean, they're kind of like a narrative kind of story. They can be, but don't feel bound by the realms of reality or anything like that, because you can really get outside. That's another fun thing about it. Like a lot of them, like I've written a couple that were like through the viewpoint of a dream, so then you can mess with things. You know, Bob Dylan did that with talking World War III blues and stuff like that.
Right.
They're I'd say have fun with it, and one way that I write talking blues, because the meter doesn't change, so you're just kind of, once you start rolling on it, I end up writing on a typewriter more than a guitar.
Oh, that's really cool. Like write it without an instrument, you know.
Yeah, just really. I mean, you can get the basic melody down, but then I find like getting the guitar out of my hands and just really, I'll write a lot of words. Like some of those, like the talking sounds just like Joe McCarthy blues, I had about 12 pages of verses, and then you can go back and be like, oh man, a lot of this is gibberish, but that one line is pretty funny. I got to find a place to put that. Maybe it works with some other part, you know. I don't know.
love
That's a good
that.
question. I'm not really. Never.
You've already
never
answered a
really
couple
thought
of
about
things about it.
I never really thought about it, how I do.
Well, that's
any of
part of
this
this.
stuff.
That's part of the beauty of this show, man. Is that that I stumbled into and feel so lucky. Is that people ask questions that I never would think to ask, and then I get to learn something too out of it. And I think starting with a really, really great line, maybe trying to write it, you know, on a typewriter or a word processor or whatever your thing is, without the instrument, so that the lines are just impeccable. Putting some humor in, but talking about a serious thing. Those are all really, really great ideas. And we've also mentioned.
You can make it just kind of completely ridiculous too. You know, I mean, it can be, you know, as I have fun with it, and don't, you know, if there's some kind of storyline that you can think of, or I'm trying to think of how I got started. I mean, like the Talking Sounds Just Like Joe McCarthy blues. I saw John Ashcroft on TV telling everybody that they had to watch what they say, and I got so mad that I wrote this song kind of to John Ashcroft, you know, and then I made it a dream, so I get to talk to him in the song and all that kind of stuff, and so I got to.
So what were his thoughts about your song?
Well, as much as they were thoughts.
Sorry, everybody.
Well,
I just wanted to see where you'd go with that one.
In the song, I asked him, "Did you ever hear a 'Gimme Liberty' or 'Gimme Death'?" And he said, "Don't tempt me."
You know what else is great is for those who are interested in writing a talking blues, as usual, you and I have to mention our buddy Ray Wiley, because Conversation with the Devil is one of the best talking blues I ever heard. It was Song of the year I moved down to Texas. And
plus,
you know,
we owe Ray money, and we're contractually obligated.
Yeah, we're contractually obligated to mention Ray at least 3 times during every show.
That would be Ray Wiley Hubbard.
Yeah, some get spiritual because they feel the heat. No, some get spiritual because they see the light, and some because they feel the heat.
Feel the heat. Yeah.
Now that, come on.
I
mean, it's just like, I'm so jealous. It's such a beautiful line.
Yeah, and you got to write a whole song just so you can deliver that line properly.
Just so you could deliver the end. And also, most people don't know that whole line about the cocaine was from a Def Leppard behind the music. You know, I didn't use the cocaine to get high, I just like the way it smelled.
Most people,
but I know that's where Ray saw that.
I don't know if that's where he saw it, but I'll trust
you. Anyway, I'm definitely gonna get in trouble on that one.
More likely.
More than likely. Okay, so back to questions and zipping back around, because these are already great questions. Thanks everybody for being here, and sorry about the technical difficulties earlier. So we mentioned Woody Guthrie when we were talking about people who do talking blues. Kate Howard knows that you're somebody who is a big Woody, what do you call it, a Woodyite? You know, someone
Woodyite.
Who,
someone who walks Woody's road.
Yeah, there you go. Woody likes Woody, and so she says, what do you think Woody Guthrie's favorite songs might be from the last 10 years?
Holy
so
cow.
Do we know much about what he, because he loved things that we do know a little bit about what he loved, you know.
Well, he loved Goebel Reeves' song, Hobo's Lullaby was one of his very favorite songs that he wrote about a lot. I don't know how
if he would be.
I wonder if, I think, like, if Woody Guthrie was born right now, there's a good chance he would be like a hip hop artist or some other genre, because it's
folk music. They're speaking their minds, you know, not necessarily the stuff you hear on the radio, but hip hop is always really socially conscious. Believe it, people. It's true. It's not necessarily stuff you hear on the radio, but there's a lot of social conscious and folk music and hip hop.
That's a hard question for a couple reasons. I don't listen to enough new music. But
you have any friends though? I mean, like, first of all, do you have any friends?
Well, the ones I pay. But I was wondering about the, you know, because I've never thought about like what Woody would like now. I just think, you know, I know from his writings and what he talked about that he'd be down with some anti-fascist songs and people who who are trying to fight for a better way for more people. You know, I know that was what was really close to his heart, and digging into his writings, even his letters to his wife Marjorie, to see just how infused that fight, like specifically the fight against fascism and fascist forces, was central to their lives, not to, and their art. I mean, that everything they did, they tried to do, working towards that because they saw what it could be. So I think he would. I mean, I don't know of anything specific, but I suspect he would like things that were less commercially motivated and more motivated by a respect for other people.
Yeah. I think you're right in saying, you know, if we could say anything, we would say it was something that had, you know, social consciousness or was trying to look out for either the working person or, you know, the person who doesn't have a lot of power themselves. He was definitely, from Sacco and Vanzetti to a million other things, you know, looking out. And that was like part of his mission. I think that, you know, one of the people that I look to is David Byrne. David Byrne did a podcast. I don't know. I think it was a Broken Record, and they wanted to talk to him. And it's like, well, what do you talk to David Byrne about? And he wanted to do all about protest songs and how there are still protest songs. And he gave examples from every facet of music. Like, he gave working women's feminist country song that I never heard of before that was awesome, but was a hit, that was kind of thinly veiled. And he also, in his newest show, did this song, I think it was by Janelle Monáe, and it was just absolutely incredible. Say His Name, which was, you know, predominantly about the Black Lives Matter movement and saying the names of the people who had been killed. But he went so far as to ask her, do you think it's okay for like a middle-aged white man to do this? And she said, yes, of course, this song is for everyone, you know? And I think that we often think, well, would he be looking at somebody with an acoustic guitar and he'd be blah, 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 and he'd be folky. And it's like, well, maybe he'd just be looking for people who cared about justice.
Yeah, we could speculate on that one for a while, I suppose. But I do think it is interesting that all that, you know, there are protest songs in every genre of music. Like you said, you know, like Loretta Lynn had that song "The Pill."
Yeah,
things,
exactly.
You know, that were which gets dubbed as a protest song, but really it was Loretta Lynn talking about exactly what she wanted to talk about. And it only becomes a protest song when someone tries to get you to not talk about it. You know, it's
boy, that's a heck of a point. That's a heck of a point for sure.
It seems that way anyway. I know some songs are written with a direct, you know, with a burr under the saddle as the cause, you know, but and I'm sure that song is one of those. But I think if people in the power establishment had agreed with Loretta Lynn's stance on the pill, she probably wouldn't have had to maybe write that song, or at least it wouldn't have been so controversial at the time. But that's also, I think, shows the power of songs, because they do become part of the social conversation. And when someone like Loretta Lynn is willing to put her reputation on the line to talk about something that she feels important, or the Dixie Chicks did it, and, you know, a lot of
Dolly
people,
Parton
that go in there and end up paying a price for
heavy.
it, you know, and just stay true to that. And I think that's part of, I mean, that's what I really look for in Woody. I mean, Woody, I think we run a risk of turning Woody into this like cartoon, like superhero guy who came out
or a martyr
and knew everything, and, you know, knew all the answers and all this stuff. The reason I like Woody is because he never stopped asking questions, and that he evolved. He did change his mind frame. He did things when he was younger and said things when he was younger that he learned were not right, and changed the way he lived and treated other people. And I think that's the reason that his music and things really resonate with me still. I mean, also because there's reasons we listen to Woody and like Duke Ellington and everything. They wrote the most, you know, they wrote everything down. So when someone leaves you 3,000 songs that are really good quality, or whatever they're up to with Woody, it's in the 2000s. I mean, you up your odds of being remembered that way.
That's exactly right. Hey, I want to mention real quick, just to everybody over in the comments, let's try and keep the comments more on the Chris Buhalis side. And I love you, and we love you, and I mean
Yeah,
that
knock it off. I'm not reading
individually
whatever
and
you
as a
got.
group. We can joke about friends, and I know that stuff's tough right now, but also please understand too, and this isn't directed at anybody. This is for everybody who's watching or listening right now. It is a difficult time for musicians to know what is right to do. It is a difficult time to go play a gig, and it is not an easy time, and some people cancel gigs, some people change the way the gig is, some people make it a social distancing, some people move it outside, but it's not clear cut, and so it's a difficult thing. And I just want everybody to kind of, just keep that in mind. There you go, Bob. Exactly. He says Chris who. Now we're talking. Okay, so those who are just joining us, we are about halfway through. We are on Austin Music TV. We're on Austin City Jams. My guest is Chris Buhalis. I like to also mention, please, thank you so much for giving us some tips. We split the tips. I want to make sure that he gets just, a few bucks for him and Meredith to maybe get some takeout. What's your favorite takeout right now? I know it's not.
I need to get a haircut.
It's not Blimpie Burger.
I need a haircut, man.
What's your favorite takeout in Ann Arbor right now? You can't say it's the best, but you can say you like it.
Oh, I often.
You guys do Jerusalem Garden still a lot.
I do. I love Jerusalem Garden, and I also love a place called El Harissa, a Tunisian place that I love.
Ooh, I don't know what Tunisian food is.
It's wonderful, and I usually order from there when I do my Tuesday live streams.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Your Tuesday live streams, by the way, we are able to find them at this here Facebook right below me. This here. Okay, so your Tuesday live streams are there, and people can listen to you.
I do them. That's where I do them, and I took a couple months off, and I'll be playing next week, but it's a nice way to keep playing music. And when we were all locked in, it was a nice way to. That was the one, at least that night we ordered out from one of the local places that we loved, and oftentimes I would get it from them because they're a nice family-run business, and I just like supporting humans.
Yeah, man.
Good humans. We need to help them, whether they're songwriters or running restaurants or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, it's really true. And going up and down and up and down and up and down, whether you are a guitar store or whether you are a restaurant or whether you are a dry cleaner or something like that. It's a challenging time, Yeah,
and like
believe it or not, we had to close a Tim Hortons. This is sacrilege. We had to close a Tim Hortons in Campbell River because they couldn't get anybody to work there.
Do they actually close it, or they just give them 5 minutes in the box?
They closed it.
Oh man,
I've never heard of I've only heard of Tim Hortons being. It's a gathering place. It's more than coffee and a donut, okay? It's a gathering place. And much like, I don't even know.
Just like any place named after an NHL defenseman, really.
There you go. I'm glad you're here so I can actually talk a little bit of hockey as well. Not like I could talk it, but you could.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't.
I probably shouldn't. It'd be a bad idea. Hey, let's go to something ridiculously heavy. Okay. Let's go super, super heavy. Oh, wait. Can you crank up your archive and comment for a minute on the bucket? Oh, I don't know. Chris, I don't think Chris ever went and saw the bucket when I was in Arbor. That was a 15-piece funk band that was led by all of us. You saw us once, right?
I saw you once.
As we played hundreds of shows. We played so many shows, but Chris went, yeah, I saw the funk band. Although you could have sung Red Hot Mama by Funkadelic.
We weren't playing the same gigs. We weren't playing the same gigs with those bands.
Yeah, that was a heck of a band. There are some floating videos. I think Ralph Mandarano put them up on Vimeo or something of the band. I don't know how he got VHS tapes onto a digital format, but there are some videos of us doing Got to Make You Mine and me doing some song I had was called Get You. I was being really, really intellectual. It was like Get You, These were like some of the first songs I ever wrote. Anyway, thank you, Terry, for bringing me down memory lane on that. But the only thing that Chris
and Plank is one of the best funk guitar players I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen P-Funk All Stars. He could go up there, and I'm not blowing sunshine. He could go up there and play without rehearsing. I know it for a fact.
Did you know that I got really quiet when you said that? I was just like,
yeah, I know you.
Bring some more.
Complimented you before.
Bring
I didn't
some more.
want you to, yeah.
My ass is for sitting, not kissing.
Nice.
So, thanks, Terry, for bringing us down memory lane on that. But our good friend Michael O'Connor asks a somewhat serious question in a day when we're doing a lot of laughing. And
he's a serious guy.
He's a serious cat, but he also, like you, is not afraid to talk about serious stuff in song. And he says, could you speak a little bit to artist responsibility on speaking out against social injustices? There's a good portion of us out there who get a lot of, I don't want to hear your views, just shut up and play. Men and women.
Shut up and sing. I love that one.
Shut up and sing, right?
Yeah, shut up and sing. That's called humming.
So, I mean, what are your, you know?
Well, my take on that, I think when anybody tells you to shut up and play, they're just telling you to shut up. And I don't take very well.
Because they don't like what you have to say.
Shut up. Because if a songwriter's opinion isn't worth anything, then what about a waiter or a doctor or a podiatrist? You know, it's either people are valued or they're not. So I always think, you know, there's that part of it, which I think that's more of a reactionary part because you're dealing with the reception. You know, you go out there and say
in the moment.
Yeah, like I would deal with this, like that talking sounds just like Joe McCarthy blues. You got me thinking about something. I played that song at the open mic that I ran in Ypsilanti at the tap room for all those years. And there's a guy out there and he just started yelling, you know, basically shut up and just play. We didn't come here to hear this crap. We came here to, which always cracks me up. Like you knew what you were going to hear when you came here and that's why you came here. Then seems like you shouldn't be surprised that you just heard me say that because that's what I came here to do. But we didn't get into the logic part of it. But this guy started yelling that I should go to Syria. So I stopped the show and I was like, well, so you want me to go to Syria? Yeah. Well, why? Because I'm up here talking, you know, because you're mad because you don't agree with what I'm saying. Well, you don't, you know, you didn't want to hear me talk about politics. So, and on stage, I kind of crafted this whole thing in my head and we talked about it because I was like, man, it seems like maybe you should go to Syria because in Syria, people like me, they don't let them talk on stage. But in America, we get to do this, which is why you're wearing all the American flag stuff on you because we're the greatest country in the world and all that. So I just think it's a losing argument. But as far as our responsibility, I mean, I don't know how else to play it. I mean, art and politics and political thought and social consciousness are intertwined on every level from the beginning of art. I mean, I'm not saying in some ways every piece of art is political when you hold it in a certain lens, but I'm not saying that's the intent of every piece of art.
Right.
But I mean, if you read even just a little bit about all the classical artists we learn very superficially in school, Michelangelo and the kind of things that they had to deal with. I mean, it was to do what you want to do, which is what artists really want, that freedom to sing about what we want, to create whatever it is we feel we need to create. And then if there's some power structure, whether it's a government or a church or whoever it is, or some guy in the audience, you know, drunk on 3-point beer yelling, shut up, you know, someone's trying to keep you from doing what you want to do or talk about what you feel is important. Or, you know, so we come up with ways like talking blues songs or
put it in a song and get people singing it.
Put it out in front of the Palazzo Vecchio and say, hey, look, I'm not your boy, I'm a man. I mean, these are all statements that happen.
This brings me to first of all, you said a bunch of things in there that I really, really appreciate, especially I've never heard it put this way, and I think it bears repeating, is that if somebody tells you to shut up and sing, they're really just telling you to shut up.
They're telling
I think
everybody.
that
to
is
shut
an
up.
abs. They're telling you. I don't want to hear what you think.
Yeah, and not
You
just
know.
me. They're telling everybody to shut up because if our opinion isn't worth anything, whose is? Like, and I just don't understand that mindset. And I
I think
don't.
that's a really great way to put it, Chris, and I'm gonna remember that.
I've just gotten to where I don't even. I mean, that stuff used to really upset me. Now it's just kind of funny. Sometimes I'll tell people, I think it's really cute that you think you get to say in what it is I'm going to sing up here, but I guess it feels good. To
Yeah, I mean, I've
somewhere.
been caught saying something pretty rough, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're under the mistaken impression that I give a crap what you think."
Yeah,
You know,
well, I mean,
and that's never a good thing to say to your audience. What you said is a little bit more diplomatic and a little less,
we start out diplomatic.
What's that?
We start out diplomatic.
We start out diplomatic, and if they keep going, or hey, I don't come to your show and scream stupid stuff at you,
Yeah. Well,
I don't come to your work and scream stupid stuff at you at your desk. What do you think?
Touched on an important thing about.
Go ahead.
Think when you're talking about, I don't know how it came up, but you were talking about shows being canceled and stuff, and how it's really hard times right now with all the uncertainty, and it's hard. Like it's been really hard, as to book things because we're all worried. If we don't believe the same as some people, like you and I believe. And,
pretty darn similar.
You and I know that vaccines work and that masking works and that it's not really
that's science issue, period.
And it's not really political unless you wish to make it that way. But in the overall, like take music, for instance, we're going to go play in a place. Now, there's the contingent of the people who say, shut up and sing, who are the same people that are going to tell you, shut up, I don't want to hear about you whining about COVID, get in there and entertain me. And then I've got to look at myself and am I this person's dancing monkey or am I a worker and a human being? And we're dealing with the same things that all workers are dealing with.
That's right.
It's just exacerbated by the point that our job is to get a whole bunch of people crammed into a little room and make them dance and sweat and breathe all over each other. So that makes our job a little more difficult. But when we get a gig, like I'm going to be doing a gig at the Arc, and they instituted a policy of full vaccination, which I fully support. And honestly, I wouldn't do the show if it wasn't that way. And so now I think people need to realize that whether or not they agree with our stance on vaccination, it's the artist's call. I'm not going to go show up and work. It's like if you worked at a job for 20 years and then you showed up one day and they're like, well, you still have a job, but you got to stand at the edge of this well with no safety gear on. And there's a bunch of people over here who may or may not want to push you in. But they would really like you to keep doing your job, and it's just.
And you might become a spreader, and you might give it to a freaking kid who can't get a vaccine yet, and there's a million other reasons that you wouldn't want to do
how many
it.
How many people do you and I know personally who are vaccinated and still ended up contracting it, and it's very real and it's frightening, and you take it home.
Or not vaccinated and died, which the number keeps going up, and friends have, it's not something that I'm making up. It's
I don't have any more energy to argue. I'm not litigating reality with people anymore. I don't have.
Nah, it's not worth it. But let me ask you this: with our freedom to say what we want, how do we feel about what has happened with the man I love to call the ultimate weenie, Eric Clapton? And this new video that he just put out. Now, I feel like personally, from my perspective, he has the right to do it. This has got to stop. He's like, this has got to stop. I knew when a man told us to put masks on that. I mean, first of all, why would a mask be? What are these people getting out of us putting on masks? It's like they want our facial recognition anyway, and they can track us anyway with our phones.
You've never experienced 1 second of oppression in your life, I suppose wearing a mask
might feel like oppression.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Eric Clapton, it's kind of hard to believe that somebody who supported racists in the 70s could turn out so bad.
You know what? I have to say this, and I put this in a tweet the other day for somebody in reply, and it was this. It's this. Look, he's done a lot for the sober community, and when I say he's done a lot for the sober community, I mean he's done a lot for the sober community. But if I, go back to, all that racist shit was pretty disgusting, or I go now to anti-vaxxer, anti-masker, I can say pretty much without any problem, he can eat shit.
Well, there's a huge difference, I think. I mean, there's like a shark infested moat difference between saying I don't want to wear a mask and making up a bunch of bullshit.
That's true.
Claiming that they like poison you and that it's an
That's a big difference. There are degrees.
Yeah, because I mean, but they're also, I mean, we're either. I worry that I don't worry. I notice that it seems a lot of our people have given up on the concept of the common good, which I think is something that
looking out for each other.
I grew up priding that in America. I mean, that's how we rolled. We looked out for each other, and we didn't kick people when they're down. We help people when they're down, and it's been a rude awakening to wake from that dream. But I have seen I've seen great behavior, the best behavior I've ever seen out of humans during this thing, and I've seen some of the worst too. But I think it's important to remember that those folks are kind of outliers, and partly they're lashing out because they're even more afraid than we are.
It's a lot of fear, isn't it? I will also say this. Sometimes my wife and I will be talking, and she'll say it's getting pretty doom and gloom, and this is kind of hard. And I'll have to find some people that are voices of a little bit more positive. And believe it or not, one of my favorite voices right now is Noam Chomsky. And Noam is out there saying there's more. He's got this really, really great new book on activism, and he's very, very optimistic about our future as far as activism is concerned, about the people who are out there who actually care, with the pipeline stuff, with civil rights and the Black Lives Matter movement, with Me Too. He's like, this is way more activism than we saw in the 60s. And he's and it actually creates change. I think that the narratives that we see on television are not necessarily that way, but there are a lot of people out there fighting the good fight right now, musicians included. And when we get all doom and gloom, we can look and see that some good things,
Oh yeah. Well, Woody always said, "Until we outnumber them." That was one of the ways he'd say about it, "Till we outnumber them."
I love that.
I contend and I fully believe we do outnumber them. And I think when we realize that, and we'll really realize what the power that people have, because I mean, I think it's that way. And I agree with your assessment. I haven't read that book, but I've read some of Chomsky's latest.
I'm about halfway through
some of his essays and things. And like, that is a dynamic that we forget about, that there are so many people, like we say in the union movement, the best organizers for your unions are companies and corporations, because every time they mistreat workers, it's the best organizing tool you have. So the Black Lives Matter and all these things that just became so visible, I mean, they've been there forever, but to be now so visible and in the forefront, I don't think they're going to be able to put that one back in the bottle, because young I don't think so either. Nor the Me Too.
Yeah, nor the Me Too movement, nor the trans right movement. I think those things, and I really, really hope too that they begin, like I've seen, working together. I want to make sure that we also talk, because you and I, are kind of the same tribe on there. Our old buddy Johnny Williams wants to know a couple of questions. Ooh, Terry Buffalo, I will do that for sure. Friend of the show, Buffalo, I will ask that next. Terry Buffalo Ware here, everybody. Johnny Williams wants to know, and I think he knows the answer, but he wants you to talk about it, which is great, because it's like a nice leading question from somebody we know and love. How did Texas become one of your favorite places to play? Because you're an Ann Arbor, Michigan guy and a Detroit guy. Yeah. I don't know if you'd say one or the other, but pretty much both.
Well, Texas became one of my favorite places to play on, I think, November 5th, 1998, because that's the first time I ever played in Texas. I had a tour. I was opening for Ray Wiley Hubbard. We played the Mucky Duck down in Houston, and we did 2 shows that night. And I always had an affinity for Texas songwriters. I liked the whole the honesty and with themselves, songwriters like Towns and Ray and, all the folks, Guy Clark and all the people that I looked up to and learned from. That kind of honesty was kind of what I wanted to do. But when I saw how people listened to songs, and like me, some guy that they didn't even know was opening, Ray just introduced me, and I found that I didn't have to fight to get people to at least give me a shot. I mean, you had to, I think if you didn't bring it, they would notice that right away too.
But they were listening intently, and they didn't know you.
Yeah, and I was just really impressed that they really respect songs, and they respect songwriters. Like, they I don't know, I always felt treated with respect down there, and I know part of it's because I was hanging with Ray, but I just think that really it's a culturally different thing.
Sure.
So many people I know
agree.
down there. Yeah, everybody picks guitars, and like that kind of blew me away. The thing that really hit me, I think, was when I first got there in the late 90s, right before you moved down there, that like listening to the radio, like Jimmy LaFave would be on the radio. Like the music I liked was the hip college music. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just like, wow, this is like the stuff. There's like a half-hour show in Ann Arbor where I can get all this stuff, but this is like what the popular music down here is, and just how everybody.
Was that Farmer's show?
Yeah, Chad Williams had that show, the Funky Farmer, the Down Home show, and that's
that would play a lot of that stuff. Sorry to take the tangent.
No, that's perfect.
Shout out to Farmer.
I mean, that's a big difference that I learned, and that, and just the people. Like I got to go down there and play songs. It did become one of my very favorite places to play. Mostly because they would book me, Johnny, honestly. Because I could
But do you feel... Now, I also felt that very quickly, because there was so much of a connection, that by going to the Blue Door in Oklahoma City, then all of a sudden I had this connection with other people who were really, really, really into songs, too. It wasn't just Austin. It was a lot of the hill country, but I started seeing it as, as far east as Hands on a Hard Body, as far west as... El Paso and up by Lubbock and Amarillo. There were all these, I'm just name dropping cities right now, but I can literally say there were songwriters from each of these areas that were like, wow, and they would look after it. But then we go to the Blue Door in Oklahoma City, and we go, oh my God, they love songs here too. Like, loved them the way they did, and the songwriting was born and bred kind of the way, there was Fulbrights and Skinners and the Red Dirt Rangers and people there that we would just be like, holy crap, Yeah. Do you feel the same? I know you do.
All the people
but...
you mentioned in both of those scenes and all that kind of music just instilled in me, like, I look at that and I listen and I'm like, man, I better not. You can't go up there and fake it after that. After you see, after you see Ray Wiley Hubbard do a set, or you see,
or John Fulbright
Rangers play, or you see Fulbright play. This isn't the game, man. We're up. It's a real deal, And I think
it's humbling.
I think it's the good part of. I guess it could be construed as competition, but you don't want to show your ass out there after that, So I don't know. I always felt a real affinity to the people of Texas. I talked with Guy Clark about this, because, everyone thinks Guy was this really gruff person, which I guess he was, but the people I knew in Detroit could be gruff. And so I always say, there's that old saying that it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. I figure like Texas, Oklahoma, Detroit, these are places we know it's easier to ask for neither. I don't need your permission, and I'm not going to apologize. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, so I love that too. So that's a bit of how, I will say this though, now that I play and I'm starting to perform here on Vancouver Island, and as I travel to other places, people often kind of give me this, especially other songwriters and other players, this thing where, oh, I don't know about that, as much as you do, because you've been in Texas for 20 years. And I'm quick to tell them, the difference isn't that you don't have, that like there's more talented people or you have to be there to learn it. I think it's mostly like drive and love of the song and love of the music. I have a young friend here, younger than me anyway, 30s. And he was talking about coming to Texas and he's like, oh, they'd probably eat me alive. I was like, no, they'd love you. It's like they love you, man. Just like they loved you, Chris, because he writes good songs. You know, his difference is probably that when he goes and plays a gig, he's got to play covers, and he's lucky if he can throw in a few songs. And we're trying to, change that and get him towards gigs where he plays his own stuff. But it's kind of like the only way he could make money in some places. Yeah. So it's really the talent is everywhere, but this breeding ground of like songwriters, pickers, it's just everywhere you look.
Yeah, but there's a special like I mean another thing you got me thinking of like why I have such an affinity for Texas, because the people there, and I'm talking like Ray Wiley, Towns, I mean like people that were established careers, they have nothing to gain from talking to me at all. Nothing. There's nothing like career-wise. There's nothing Towns is going to get by talking songwriting with me. I mean, it's a real human thing, but I think there's a rich tradition of people, and I've seen you do it. I've seen everyone I know, and they do it everywhere. There are elements of this everywhere, but I think it's much more prevalent in Texas and Oklahoma, where people actually share their knowledge with younger people and mentor people.
They pass it along.
And really pass it along, and they don't guard it all like every little, you keep a guitar lick for yourself or something, but there's no, like I can talk songwriting with Butch Hancock and like, or just talk about anything.
How crazy is that?
Well, it just blows my mind that they're,
how crazy is it that we could like talk to,
that's out there, but that I think that's part of the culture there. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think it does happen in other places, but I think that's something that I really notice, in particular Texas and Oklahoma. And it may just be that those are places that I've played more than other places. But I just, or maybe it's because I know 3 generations now of the people, but like Terry Ware and all these people that we're talking about that learned from other people and are just so generous with their talents and their time. I mean, it's just a gift to get time. Like Ray Wiley Hubbard gave my daughter a guitar lesson,
he felt compelled to. He felt like if he didn't do that, then.
Well, yeah, but that's because it meant something to him too.
I hope people never get my sarcasm. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I know.
Because it's bad.
Well, we'll talk about it after.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Our good friend that you just mentioned, Terry Buffalo Ware. How you doing, brother? He just asked, maybe because I said that I pretended that I was reading something.
Buff's watching this?
Yeah, Buff's in here with us. He said, could you ask Chris...
Professional.
Could you ask Chris what he's reading these days? He's under the impression that you're literate.
Well, I've been known to string some letters together and sound them out under my breath. What am I reading right now?
Are you reading anything right now?
Yeah, I'm reading a book by Peter Werby, who's a friend of mine. He wrote a book called Summer on Fire. It's a Detroit novel about, I just started it last night or the night before.
I need a novel. Peter Werby?
Peter Werby, Werbe. It's called... I'm
going to put it here in the chat so everybody can
Summer
get it.
on
Peter
Fire, I believe. I think
Werby, possibly Summer on Fire?
I believe that's what it's called. I will fix that if it's not, but it's the back setting is the 1967 uprisings in Detroit.
Nice.
Known colloquially as race riots, but they weren't.
Right.
So that's I've been reading that, and I've been going through I've been reading Gus Stadler's got a new book called Woody Guthrie that I've been reading and I've been listening to sometimes when I'm working.
I'm going to guess this is the first book on Woody Guthrie you've ever read.
Yeah, because I couldn't really read before, but we
more sarcasm, everyone.
There's some interesting. That's the one. There's been a lot of interesting references to letters. He really did a great job mining the letters that Woody wrote back and forth between him and his wife Marjorie when they were courting, before they were married. And
that's really cool. I love letters. I love reading letters.
That just
someone's personal thoughts I shouldn't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think they illuminate like motivations. I try not to get too much into the cult of personality part of it. But I do find all that stuff very interesting, because I think part of the process of him writing all that stuff down left us a roadmap, because we're, you need to, man, if only I could figure out how to fight fascists in 2021. Like, oh, wait a minute, people have done this before? Oh, well,
yeah.
Okay. Let's see how they did it.
Let's see, there was organizing, and there was unions, and,
Reading that. What else do I got? Oh, I did book tours for this book. This is a great one. I just reread this. My friend Daniel Wolf, if anyone's looking to read a cool book.
Oh, yeah, we've talked a lot about this.
This connects
you and I.
Bob Dylan, Woody Guthrie, and social justice and all the kind of things that we're talking about. But, mostly I've been, I read like detective novels and stuff just to keep my brain working.
Elmore Leonard. You got me into Elmore Leonard. We had a book on tape. You got me into two things on our first trip to Texas. One was Elmore Leonard, and the other was Transformations of Myth Through Time with the Joseph Campbell. We had some heavy stuff that, because God knows we didn't want to talk anymore. We'd been on the road for years. So
turned out that was just prepped so you could tour with Ray Wiley anyway. All that Joseph Campbell stuff came in handy.
Yeah. Elmore Leonard kind of leads really, really well into Haruki Murakami. It's got a little bit more sci-fi in it and stuff, but I think you'd really love, because Haruki cites Elmore Leonard as one of his biggest influences,
Yeah, you've mentioned it before. I'll try to get around the sci-fi.
You'll get there. I mean, the sci-fi is very, very, very minimal. Like, basically, you'll be in the middle of a really, really intense novel, and all of a sudden he'll get off at a train and he'll be in a town of cats, which is my nightmare. Which is my nightmare, by the way.
Well, as long as there's no like vaccines that make you magnetic or anything, I might check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm a big fan, and I actually found out about him through Bruce Hughes or Matt the Electrician, one of them. It's fun. I found out that instead of keeping a screen by the bed, if you read a half hour of fiction before bed, you sleep way better.
Oh yeah,
not nonfiction. It's got to be fiction. What's that?
Yeah. Well, I pretty much have to read to go to sleep.
It's a great way to get to bed. Great way to get to bed if you're like us, yappers in the mind. I'm not making any judgment about you or anything.
Oh, gee. Okay, so we ask questions, Plank. However, will we fill the time?
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. First of all, before we go off the air, and we're going to stay online for just a minute while I ask Chris my favorite question, I do thank everybody for the tips. Last time I'll mention them. We appreciate them very, very much. It's how I keep the wheels rolling, and I split my tips with my guests so that I can make sure he and Meredith will get some fine Tunisian food tonight after his live stream. And so thank you very, very, very much for the tips. Links are also in the chat, I believe. You should be able to find them in the chat on whatever you're watching on. Thanks to Austin Music TV. Thanks to AustinCityJams.com and all of the other platforms we're on. I want you to also remember Facebook.com/Chris Buhalis, and you'll be playing this evening, so they can listen to you. Oh, no, next week. Next week. Tuesdays.
Next week. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll try and plug you next week when we're on as well. And then, besides that, as we go off on air, bye to everybody on Austin Music TV. If you want to hear the end of this question, then you're going to have to go online. And this is my question to everyone, which is, what is your guilty pleasure music? And if it's not guilty, that's fine. Just something that surprises folks. I've had people come on here and tell me I am a huge fan of the Spice Girls. I am, and mine is Barry Manilow. And I am a fan-o-lo, and I can't help it.
I know all the words to more Barry Manilow songs than you do.
Really?
Right off the bat. If you want to go
Are you kidding?
Now, I'll go.
Could we do, I could go toe-to-toe with you on Ready to Take a Chance again.
Ready to put my life on the line with you? No, well, how about Never Wrote a Song for Linda?
Yeah, I wouldn't know that one as well, but that's a little more obscure. You're right. Okay, so we got another. Everybody, I don't know what's happening, but we got another fan-o-lo on here. I don't know if it's ever happened before. That we have another person who was it because now for me the reason I was a fan-o-lo was because my mom used to play those records right next to everything. Like she'd be playing Songs in the Key of Life, and she'd be playing classical, and she'd be playing the White Album, and then like just before I could walk, I was listening to Manilow. What was it for you?
My mom played Barry Manilow, Donna Summer, Stevie Wonder, all the stuff in equal parts and I remember the words to songs. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure, but I have won some late night campfire kitsch contests
Because you know how to play Can't Smile Without You.
and people just never remember the words to anything, Plank, as you know. And
I do know that.
If you Kenny Rogers songs and Donna Summer songs, and
so maybe you have so many. I mean, I wouldn't say any of those are really guilty pleasures, but
no, I don't.
Is there
think
anything kind of off the wall that you listen to that we might not know that you listen to?
I don't know that I listen to that stuff anymore. Off the wall. No, I'm kind
something
of
that's.
I
do know you're a Funkadelic fan.
Guilty. Well, I love Funkadelic. In fact, I've been listening to. Well, mostly I've been listening to. I haven't been listening to Funkadelic. I've been listening to Miles Davis, Jack Johnson again.
Jack Johnson's incredible record.
Got a Funkadelic kind of.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that one's John McLaughlin, isn't it? I think it's John McLaughlin on guitar on that.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't feel guilty about listening to music. I sometimes wish I didn't. Know
that was what Bill Kirchen said. He's like, it's not guilty. Other Ann Arbor friend of the show, Bill Kirchen, says he's like, I'm not guilty about any of it. But I mean, I like to find out for other people, like, something that people listen to that's not what you would expect. Matt the Electrician loves punk music, like just down. Misfits are down in his soul, man. And he writes these beautiful, acoustic, gorgeous songs. It's just, we don't always listen to what people think we do. And it's kind of cool what influences us.
Like when I'm just want to listen to music, like these days, I often listen to Little Willie John.
Oh, yeah, man, Fever.
Or I listen to Roy Orbison, but Little Willie John pretty much
never gets old. Little Willie John never gets old. Not enough people know.
He got me through the pandemic. When I was holding on by my nails, I would put that on and somehow it worked,
I think we're going to end on Little Willie John.
I need your love so bad.
Wait, is it I-E or is it Y?
I-E. Little Willie John. In fact, I've got a book here. There's a great book about Little Willie John, too.
Really?
Great book.
Fever!
I didn't even know Little Willie John was from Detroit until this book came out.
Really? Oh,
his sister
I actually knew that, but
his sister Mabel was the first female Motown act signed to Motown.
I didn't know that.
By 30. James Brown was his opening act. That's how good Little Willie John was.
How the hell is James Brown open for anybody? I don't know. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here again. My guest, Chris Buhalis. Chris, thank you so much for this. I miss you, buddy. Give my best to little Zoe B, who's not so little anymore, who's off in college or who's off, right? And you got an empty nest.
Yeah, for the moment. It's not
till your parents come and hang out.
Yeah. But things are going all right, man. It's so great to talk to you, Plank. Thanks for having me, man. I miss you too. Well, if we can get everyone to get vaccinated and wear their mask and, looking out for their other fellow human, maybe we can get together sooner.
Yep, we can play in Texas and we can play in Michigan and all points in between.
Indeed.
All right, thank you, everybody. Right, we'll see you all. Chris, you stay on here with me. And thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you. See you next week. And don't forget to check out Chris Buhalis at his Facebook. Go like him right now. Go do all the things. Likes. And go to the website, too, and go grab his music wherever you find your music. All right, everybody.